Hi, we're going to be discussing the Parsha of the week, Parshas Shelach. Famously, we have the sin of the spies. They went to spy out Eretz Yisrael before the Jewish people were about to enter. They gave a negative report, and because of that, and the Jewish people complained, and because of that, the Jewish people were punished to be in the desert and to wander around the desert for 40 years, and they didn't enter Israel right away. So I want to discuss a little bit what exactly was their sin, and what it can teach us. So let's start by reading some of the psukim, not all of them. If you have a chumash, the parsha starts with Perek Yud Gimel, Pasuk Aleph. So let's read a little bit in the verses themselves, and we'll see if we can decipher what's going on, and we'll use some of the commentaries to help us along the way. So Vaydaber Shem Moshe Lemor, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Shlach lecha anashim v'yasur Eretz Canaan, send people, send men, to spy out the land of Canaan, Asher ani nosein livnei Yisrael, which I give to the land, to give to the Jewish people. Ish echad lamate avosav tishlachu kol nasi behem. You should send the princes of each tribe. Vayishlech osam Moshe b'midbar Paran al pi Hashem. Moshe sent the spies by the word of Hashem. Kulam anashim roshe b'nei Yisrael hema, and they were all the heads of the Jewish people. So Moshe sends, through the commandment of Hashem, Moshe sends spies to check out the land, and these spies were the head of the Jewish people. Now let's skip ahead to Pasuk Chaf Hei to see what happened when the spies came back. Ve'yashuvu mitor haaretz miketz arba'im yom. After 40 days, the spies came back from checking out the land. Vayelchu v'yavo el Moshe vel Aaron. They came in front of Moshe and Aaron, al kol adas b'nei Yisrael, in front of the entire Jewish people, el midbar Paran, who were in Paran, Kadesha. V'yashivu osam davar, v'es kol ha'eda, v'yirum es pri haaretz. They told them what they saw, and they brought back examples of fruits that they got from the land. V'yisaper lo, v'yomru, ba'anu el haaretz asher shelachtanu. We came, they said, we came to the land where you sent us. V'gam zavas chalav v'dvash, it's a land flowing with milk and honey. V'zeh pirya, and these are its fruits. Ephes ki oz ha'am, nevertheless, the people are very powerful, they're very mighty. Hayoshev ba'aretz, v'arim b'suras, they have gedolos, they have large fortified cities, ma'od, very, very big. V'gam yilidei ha'anak re'inu sham. We also saw giants, they had giants there. Amalek yoshev b'eretz ha'negev, Amalek is in the Negev. V'achiti v'havusi v'hamori yoshev bahar. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites, they live in the mountains. V'aknani yoshev alayam. The Canaanim live on the sea. V'al yar yarden, and on the Jordan River. V'yas Kalev es ha'am el Moshe. And Kalev, the people started getting nervous apparently, so Kalev hushed the people. V'yomer olo na'ale. V'yarashnu asa ki yachal nuchola. He says, no, we can go anyway, we can conquer the land, we'll be able to do it. And then the spies that went with Kalev, Amru lo nuchol lalos elam, we're not going to be able to do it. Ki chazakhu mimenu, they are stronger than us. V'yotzi dibas haaretz, and they spoke negative about the land, asher taru asa, which they spied out al bnei Yisrael, lemor, saying, haaretz asher avarnu va, lasor asa, eretz ochelos yoshveha, the land which we spied out. It is a land which eats its inhabitants, consumes its inhabitants. And everyone we saw was very big. We saw giants. We were like grasshoppers, like in their eyes. So we have the spies were sent out. God tells Moshe, send out spies. And the spies go, and they come back, and they say that it's a wonderful land. Here's an example of the fruits, great fruits. And then they say, but there are giants living there. There's mighty cities. And then Kalev says, no, we can still conquer the land. And then they respond by saying it's a land which consumes its inhabitants. So the Ramban here, very, very long Ramban, a few Rambans in the Parsha, but very fundamental to understanding what's going on. Ramban has a few questions. Well, first of all, what was their sin exactly? What did the spies do wrong? He says, number one, he says, if they did something by spying out the land, if that was the sin, the fact that they went to spy out the land, then Moshe sinned also. Because in Devarim it says, Vayitev be'enei hadavar, that Moshe also approved of what they were doing. So, if the sin was just that they went to spy out the land, then what was the issue? And also, Hashem sent them. So how could it be a sin if Hashem told Moshe to send them? So that's one question. Another question he asks how can we say... Right. Also, he says it can't be the sin that that they just spied out the land, because Moshe told them, go see if the land is good or bad. Right? He sent them on a mission to see if it's good or bad. So if so, they came back and they said, well, there are giants living there. Well, why is that a sin? If Moshe sends them to see if what's going on in the land, see what's going on in Israel, they should be honest. Well, what's happening? They saw giants. That's not a lie. Right? What should they do? Should they be dishonest about what they saw in Eretz Yisrael? So that can't be the sin. And he says that even Moshe himself said that the people there were big. And he says furthermore, interesting, he writes that, how far is Egypt from Israel? He says from Hebron, which is in the sort of the south of Israel, to Egypt, it's only like a 7-day journey. It's not so long. So people in Egypt had an idea of what was going on there. So what were the spies doing in the first place? Like, they already knew that there were these giants living there. Furthermore, what was the purpose of sending the spies in the first place, right? So we established that Hashem sent them, Moshe sent them, but what was the purpose of sending the spies? So let's say now we see with our own eyes that the people are very big. Are they going to go back to Egypt, back to Paro? Like, that's not going to happen. So the Ramban answers like this. He says, Aval yishuv ha'inyan bazeh, ki Yisrael amru kedarach kol habayim li'ilachim be'eretz nachriya, shesholchim lifneim anashim ladas hadrachim u'mavo heharim. It says like this, right? We're asking. They knew what was going on in the land. They lived in Egypt. They had an idea what was going on. Moshe knew. So what was the idea of sending the spies in the first place? So the Ramban writes that the normal thing to do when you go into battle is to investigate the land which you're going to conquer. You send out scouts to see what's going on, right? Every major battle, every major war, you have to have scouts and spies to know what the terrain is like, to know which cities are bigger, which cities are well fortified. And that's what Moshe was doing. Moshe was sending the spies to go see what is the way that we should conquer the land. Should we... Obviously, you would want to go into hit the weaker cities first to take them over. You don't want to just start out with going with the most mighty city. Also, he wanted to see which areas of Eretz Yisrael were good. Which areas were the good pieces of land and the bad pieces of land. You don't want to put in all the effort to conquer the bad pieces of land. You want to conquer the good pieces of land. So why did Moshe ask them to bring back produce? Why did they bring it back? Because Moshe knew that the produce was great and that there were so many blessings. There was a land flowing with milk and honey. But he wanted the spies to bring back produce so that people could see with their own eyes how big the fruits that Eretz Yisrael had to offer. So if so, what was the sin? What was such a bad sin that they did? Right? They wanted to. Now we established that they wanted to go and investigate Eretz Yisrael to see what the best way to conquer it was. They wanted to see which cities were fortified, which cities were not fortified, which parts of Eretz Yisrael were better than others, so that they would know what to conquer first. That seems like a very rational thing. And then the spies came back and they gave an honest report. And like we established, they shouldn't have lied. Right? Obviously, they should have said if there was something bad, that they should have been honest and told Moshe. That's what Moshe sent them to do, to be honest. So the Ramban writes, "V'hinei nemar kana inyan b'stam kin ken haya. Avol v'mishnah Torah hisker lahem Moshe kol advar mitchilasan lahagid lahem pisham ki chatu b'meshe bikshu v'shalo hem atzmam." He writes that here at the beginning of the parsha we don't have what their sin was. The whole story isn't told here. But if you look in Dvarim, when this story is told over again by Moshe, he starts from the very beginning. From the very beginning of the story, we see that it wasn't exactly Hashem that commanded Moshe to send the spies to check out the land, but it was actually the spies themselves. The people themselves asked Moshe, could they go as spies to check out the land? It wasn't something that Hashem said. It was something that the people asked, and then Hashem acquiesced to. Now, what's the problem with that? Valdas Rabbeinu chatu ba'amram. Let's put into perspective who we're talking about here. We have here the Jewish people. They left Egypt. They saw 10 plagues. They saw the firstborn of Paro die, the firstborn of every Egyptian die. The sea turned to blood. They had the splitting of the sea. All the Egyptians died. They had manna, and water was provided for them. And they constantly saw miracles and miracles. But yet, they asked for a practical eitzah. They wanted to send spies because when they conquer the land, they want to know the best way. If you're part of a people where you see that Hashem is constantly doing miracles for you, why do you need to do something which, by human means, isn't necessary? Not only that, right? They had a cloud of glory, which they followed after, which constantly protected them. It was a miraculous cloud. They could see it all the time. They should have just followed the cloud that was going to take them into Eretz Yisrael, and they shouldn't have needed to do that. Umoshe kibu mehem, lamalos tavasam, and Moshe listened to them to fulfill their desire. V'yatam v'itav be'enei hadavar shesavalti ra'aschem v'haresi lasoso. Meaning, when it says that the thing was good to Moshe's eyes, what it means is not that it was good, that he liked it, but he caved. He was trying to make them happy. He said, okay, you want to send spies? You can send spies. And then Hashem said, okay, you want to send spies? We'll take somebody from the head of each tribe. So since the Jewish people were on such a high level, they witnessed all these miracles. And it's not like where we live today, where we don't necessarily see the hand of God openly, right? We don't see the sea splitting, but you could just imagine if you grew up and you lived through the 10 plagues of Egypt and the splitting of the sea, and you had supernatural food coming down from the sky, and you were at the giving of the Torah where you hear God's voice. So it's below your level, their spiritual level, to ask to send spies. And right, similarly, we had a concept, I think we mentioned this recently in another class, that when Yosef HaTzadik was in jail in Egypt, and Yosef had a lot of faith in Hashem, but he was punished to be in jail for 2 extra years because he asked the butler to remember him, to Paro. Right? He was co-prisoners with the butler, and when the butler was being released, he said, can you please remember me and help me get out of jail? And he was punished for that. Now, why was he punished? So there's different explanations given, right? It seems like a very logical thing. You're in jail, and you meet, it's like, imagine you're in jail and you meet someone who's friends with President Trump. You would definitely talk to him, hey, can you get me a pardon? Can you get me out of here? That seems like a very rational thing to do. So the Beis Halevi explains that since Yosef HaTzadik was on such a high level, he was on a high spiritual level, he shouldn't have done that. He should have just had faith in Hashem. And that bitachon, faith in Hashem, depends on everyone's level, right? Not everyone has to display the same level of bitachon. Someone who's on a high spiritual level, who is mature in his spirituality, should have a higher level of trust in God and not need to put in as much earthly efforts into things as somebody who is just starting out. So Yosef HaTzadik, was almost one of the forefathers, was a very, very holy person, obviously. He should have been on the level where he just trusted in Hashem, just trusted in God. And so too here, the Jewish people, they were on such a high spiritual level that they shouldn't have asked to send spies to do even though it's a normal thing in war, that you're about to go conquer a land, you send out scouts to see what's going on. They shouldn't have asked them to be sent. Now, that's one way the Ramban explains the sin, but I would like to, the Ramban later, in Chav Zayin, says a different explanation of the sin, and it's not totally clear how these two Rambans work together, but it could be different aspects of it. So, he says again that, for sure, let's talk about what happened when they came back. So one thing was the sin was they asked for permission to send spies to check out the land. Now, when they came back, was there a sin when they came back? Right? What was so bad? They were honest. They said there are giants there. They have big cities. That's what they had to do. Once they were sent, did they sin? Did they do anything wrong by giving the report? Because we always say, the sin of the spies is because they complained about the land. And they spoke Lashon Hara about the land. Well, what was so bad? They were telling the truth, and that's what they were supposed to do. Right? We're learning in Hilchos Lashon Hara now, when something is litoelis, something is for a purpose, you're allowed to say something negative. So this was for sure a purpose. So he says at the beginning of what they said, there was nothing wrong, right? They said, yep, here are the fruits, there are big people here, and I'm not sure about the fruits, but they gave an accurate report of the land, but they added one word. If you look at the verse, they added one word which made everything bad. right? The verse in verse Chav Zayin, they said, "Vayisaper lo v'yamru bonu el haaretz asher shelachthanu." We came to the land which you sent us. V'gam zavas chavel udvashi v'zeh pirya. It's a land flowing with milk and honey, and these are their fruits. Now, what's the next thing they said? Ephes ki oz ha'am. The Ephes, and they're nevertheless. The people are very strong, Hayoshiv Ba'aretz V'harim, and they have big cities, very large fortified cities, and they're giants. The Ramban says with the word Ephes they sinned. They said nevertheless, meaning we can't do it. That's what they were saying. The word Ephes nevertheless means we can't do it. Yeah, they gave an accurate report, but they added that one word. They were trying to hint to the people that even though Hashem is with us, nevertheless, the people are very big and we're not going to be able to conquer them. Even though they didn't say it explicitly, it was still a sin because they were trying to hint to the people, right? They couldn't just say something totally bad right away. You know, Moshe and Aaron is standing there, right? Moshe and Aaron, you're not going to get away with lying in front of Moshe and Aaron. So what they did do, you'll find people do this sometimes. They're not going to lie to someone's face, but they'll say something like a little sneaky so they can get their message across. That's what they were doing. They said that. So what happened after that? What happened after they gave this subtle message of Ephes that we're not going to be able to conquer the land? So then Kalev, right? There were two spies that didn't speak badly about the land, that didn't sin. Kalev and Yeshua. So what does Kalev do? He sees the people are getting nervous because they picked up on the not so subtle hint that they're not going to be able to conquer the land. So Kalev says, "No, we can do it. We can conquer the land. We have Hashem with us. We'll be able to do it. They're right that there are giants living there. There are big people." But we can, nevertheless, we can do it. So, and then what happened? Now the spies see that the people are starting to, be confident that they can conquer Eretz Yisrael. So what happens? Then the spies go behind people's backs and not behind Moshe and Aaron's back, and then they start to lie. They say it's a land which consumes its inhabitants. And they say that they exaggerate the word that they use for the giants are Nephilim. All of a sudden it changes. Nephilim, the Ramban says, is mashma that it's like you'll just fall if you see them. You'll just faint because how big these people are. And so after Moshe and Aaron leave, then they say straight up lies about the land consuming its inhabitants and that there are super big giants. And then from there the people complain and we have the sin. So again, the sin was that the spies at first said Ephes, meaning they told the truth, but they were telling the people that they are not going to be able to conquer the land, that Hashem will not help them conquer the land, and they will not be able to defeat these giants. And then when Moshe and Aaron left, they actually spoke lies, straight up lies. And that is what the sin of the spies. So the Ramban says the first sin was that the people asked to have the spies sent in the first place. And that was a sin because they didn't have bitachon, they didn't have enough trust in Hashem on their level. And the second sin was that even though they told the truth originally, what happened, what they saw in Eretz Yisrael, since they said to the people that it's going to be impossible, right? They didn't believe in Hashem, and they didn't think they would be able to successfully fight a war and defeat these people. That was the second sin. And after that, after Moshe and Aaron left, then they just, hello, thank you for joining. They just straight up lied. And I think the lessons from this episode are obvious, right? We are all on different levels when it comes to bitachon, of trusting in Hashem. But on our level, it's something that we should always work on, is to trust in Hashem. We definitely do not have control over many things in our lives. So we know Hashem is the one who is in total control. And when we believe that Hashem is in total control, then He helps us. It serves as a schus and to daven. And also to not think that just because something looks difficult that it's impossible, right? The spies said that there are giants living there. It's Ephes. We can't do it. We're not going to be able to conquer them, right? When you have Hashem with you, when you have God on your side, anything is possible. That doesn't mean we should go by ourselves and start fighting like a war against the Taliban or something. But whatever it is, we should never be afraid and never think something is possible because we have Hashem with us. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to write them here on Facebook or send me an email. I hope everyone has a beautiful evening.